Hey everybody, chicken nuggets. My husband said, wow, they are so crunchy. So we've got chicken nuggets and we've got a dipping sauce. Very easy for the kids, the rookie kids to make. So let's get cooking.
Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at our recipe. So we've got the chicken nuggets and dipping sauce. What I'll do is I'll read through the ingredients. Read through the equipment. All you need to do at this stage is just check that you've got everything on the workbench. And if you haven't, now's the time to run across the kitchen and get organised. So we always put everything into place, and you'll know that I keep all of my ingredients on the left-hand side and I put all of my equipment on the right-hand side. So that just means that I'm not looking for a spoon over here. I keep it nice and straightforward. Fantastic. All right, so the first thing you're going to need is some breadcrumbs. Now, the recipe says panko breadcrumbs, which are just slightly bigger breadcrumbs. If you can also use cornflake crumbs. So I've also got some cornflake crumbs that I found in my cupboard yesterday. And of course, because we're not going out to live classes, I'm having to check everything that it's not out of date. So I found those. The other thing that you can do if you were gluten-free would be to use almond flour. So that's another option as well. Great. So panko breadcrumbs, you'll need some non-stick cooking spray. If you haven't got that, there is a way around it, but let me know. You'll need some salt. You'll need some black pepper. You'll need some onion powder. Now, if you haven't got this, you can do it without it. Onion powder and the garlic powder. Now, if you're like me, I buy onion powder. I use it about twice and then it goes solid. It drives me crazy. So I've got some onion powder that's solidified, but I'll mess around with it and get it working. You'll need a little bit of paprika, get some great flavour happening. If you use spice in your family, you can add a little bit of cayenne pepper. You'll need 2 eggs, a little bit of milk. Got my milk there. You need some chicken. Just chicken fillet is great. Beautiful. Then you'll need, in terms of equipment, you're going to need some measuring cups and measuring spoons. You'll need a baking tray. Daisy, I've got a baking tray with an oven, like a little mesh thing over the top, which is just like a cookie, what do you call it? A cooling rack that I'm going to use. Whoops. You'll need a wooden spoon or a silicone spoon. You'll need a medium bowl and a large bowl. Then I've got 3 cereal bowls, because then they don't have to be that big. Ours just happen to be that big. You'll need a whisk or a metal spoon, whisk or a metal fork. Oh, I say one thing, mean the other. Metal fork and a wire rack suitable for the oven that fits over the baking tray. So mine is quite big. You probably don't need it that big. It's just what we've got. If you've got something that, this will keep our nuggets crispy at the same time as cooking them. And you'll need some baking paper. Baking paper, and of course you're going to need some tongs because this is a bit of a messy activity. Brilliant. All right. Has everybody cut up their chicken nugget pieces yet? No. All right, fantastic. So for those that haven't, what we're going to do, I've cut up most of mine, and You know what a nugget looks like because you guys have been eating them forever and a day. Let me just let someone else in. You guys know what a nugget size piece of chicken is. So I've got a piece of breast fillet here and I'm going to slice it. Now you'll need a knife that's quite sharp. You don't want a serrated edge. And if you need help, I want you to ask someone at home for help because cutting up meat is a little bit tricky and this knife needs to be quite sharp. So ask for help. I'm just holding my meat with one hand and going back and forward, creating like slices. Now, everybody's chicken breast is going to be different sizes and different weights. They don't have to be the same. Like I've got some little pieces here that you can see, and I've got some bigger pieces. So, but they're pretty much all around the same size. So you know what a chicken nugget is like. That's the kind of vibe that we're going for. Now, remember you're working with raw chicken. So now I would normally say that to wear disposable gloves, but when we're cooking meat, I actually don't, because if you're chopping your meat with a sharp knife, you've got more chance of chopping the glove and having that in your meat, which we totally do not want glove in our meat. So I'm going to leave you guys to chop up your chicken. And remember, if you need help, just ask. It's better that you ask for help than ask someone to take you to the hospital. So don't rush, Anna. Oh, you're done. Excellent. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is get your baking tray. So you can see that I've got an overhead camera and you've got my front camera. So if you want to put my overhead camera as the speaker camera, then that will make your screen nice and clear, and also you can see exactly what you're doing. So I'm going to spread a sheet of baking paper onto my baking tray. Fantastic. A sheet of baking paper onto your baking tray. And then we're going to measure out 1.5 cups of breadcrumbs, just straight onto your tray. 1.5 cups of breadcrumbs. And just spread it out. Doesn't have to be even, but obviously as even as you get would be great. Fantastic. And then once you've got your crumbs onto your tray, you're going to shake your cooking spray. Now, does anyone not have cooking spray? Oh, okay, fantastic, Mateo. Oh, Anna, excellent. So, all right, I've got another idea for you. So hang on, let me just do 2 instructions. First instruction is just spray. For those that have got cooking spray, spray quite liberally from a height. Do a Jamie Oliver from a height in a nice even layer. Now, if you don't have cooking spray, what I want you to do, we're just going to reverse it a little bit. Have you got some olive oil or vegetable oil? Great. Do you want to grab yourself a pastry brush or a piece of paper towel? Pastry brush or paper towel for those that don't have spray. So I'm just giving two different instructions on how to do this. So everyone else just bear with us a minute. Okay. So with your olive oil, Matteo and Anna, what I want you to do is I want you to paint your baking paper quite liberally with olive oil or vegetable oil. And Julia, is that you as well? Great. All right, fantastic. So you want to So as an example, I'll just do mine. Mine will be doubly oiled. And then I'm just going to spread my oil across the baking tray. Right. And then sprinkle my oil up, sprinkle my breadcrumbs on. Great. And then just give them a bit of a toss. Now it's a bit messy. So this is only the guys that don't have spray. So you're wanting to, it's very tactile, like playing in the sand. Beautiful. There's always more than one way to do things. That's what I love about cooking, is getting creative. Fantastic. Once you've done that, give them a nice little toss around. Now, I don't know about you, but my oven hasn't heated up yet. My light hasn't turned off. So while we're waiting for the light to turn off, because we want our oven to be hot enough, let's just put our tray to the side. All right. Excellent. Pop that to the side and then come back. And we're going to skip down to step 7. Skip down to step 7. What we're going to do is whisk our 2 eggs. Whisk your 2 eggs. Now, if you've been in my class before, you know that I'll always put my egg into, like I crack the egg into a separate bowl. Crack the egg into a separate bowl. And the reason that I do that is just so that I can check if there's any shell in there, or if the egg is rotten. It just makes it easy to get one lot of shell out. Fantastic. Step 7, so whisk together the eggs and the almond milk. So any kind of milk, doesn't matter what kind of milk you've got. 2 tablespoons. So 2 tablespoons of milk. And what we're doing here is we're prepping to crumb our beautiful chicken nuggets. So 2, great. Nice and carefully. Well done. That's good. Don't measure over the bowl just in case you end up spilling it. You might not spill things. I do. All right. And then we're going to whisk our milk and our eggs together. I'm hanging onto my bowl with one hand just to make sure that I don't hit it across the workbench. Just we're incorporating it together. I'm just doing it with a metal fork because it's as easy to use a metal fork as it is to use a whisk. There are sometimes we definitely use a whisk because it gives much more air, but for what we're doing here, it's not really a big deal. Great. All right. And just pop that to the side. Now, has anyone else's oven turned off yet? Oven light? Yep. No. All right. If your oven light has turned off and it's ready to put the breadcrumbs in, what we're going to do is put them in for 2 minutes. So set your timer for 2 minutes. Our oven is on a really hot temperature, so we don't want to overcook them. What we're going to do after 2 minutes, we're going to go in, give them a shake, and then give them another 2 minutes, and then they'll be good. So what we're doing here is we're roasting our nuggets so that they're nice and beautiful crisp. Great. Okay. Excellent. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, just bear with me while I do that. All right, so we're going to get a bowl and we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, when you measure, always double check that you've definitely got the right measuring spoon. Some measuring spoons, they have it very clearly written on the side. And as I said before, I never measure over the bowl. So we've got 1 teaspoon of salt. Fantastic. 1 teaspoon of salt. I can see, Emily and Anna, you're using a grinder. So, yep, make sure that you get your measurements right because the salt is about flavour. Fantastic. All right, once you've done 1 teaspoon of salt, we're going to do 1 teaspoon of black pepper. 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Again, if you're using a grinder or a pepper mill, it's a bit difficult, but my magic number is always to do about 8 grinds of your pepper mill. 8 grinds of pepper mill. That's it. Go, Anna. Fantastic. Oh, that's my 2-minute timer. It's a bit of rushing around, but then it'll all come calm. Okay, step 4 for your timer, bake for 2 minutes, then give your pan a bit of a shake and then bake for another 2 minutes. All right, so I'll show you. So mine are, I'm not sure whether you can see, but mine are beautiful and golden on the top. So all I'm doing is giving them a bit of a stir around. Make sure you use your oven mitts. And then we're going to pop them in for another 2 minutes. Perfect. Excellent. I'm going to let you guys be the judge of your 2-minute timers. Right. Excellent. So I've got 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Then I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of onion powder. And the reason we use onion powder is just because it's in minute form, it's like dried. and it's just easier. It's easier because we're making a crumb. We want it to be in tiny little pieces. And it's 1 teaspoon of onion powder. And it's very pungent, I think the word is. Beautiful. Great. One teaspoon of onion powder. Fantastic. And then 1 teaspoon of paprika or paprika, however you say it. 1 teaspoon of paprika. Have a smell of it. I love the smell of paprika. I call it the KFC spice. Oops, Daisy, see I spilt mine. It went all over the board rather than in my bowl. So it's 1 teaspoon of paprika. And then half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Oops. Right, there's my 2-minute timer gone again. Now, and they look totally chicken nuggety. Beautiful, and I'm just going to give them a toss around and just put them to the side for the moment. Make sure that you use your oven mitts or your tea towel, a dry tea towel. Don't use a wet tea towel because it will transfer the heat. Excellent, we got up to garlic powder. If your family eats chili or spice, you can put in 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So we're not going to do that at our family, but if you do that, brilliant. All right, and then I'm just giving my mixture a little toss around to make sure that all of those lovely spices are all mixed together. So you can use a spoon or a fork, whatever. Have a smell of it. Smells amazing. Yeah, great. All right, has everybody taken their breadcrumbs out of the oven? Sophie, yep. Julia, yep. Mateo, yep. Okay, good. No, not you, Anna. Yep, all right, fantastic. We'll wait a minute or so. No worries. I'm going to show you what to do next. So, oh, that pepper is going up my nose. Anybody else? All right, so you're going to need some tongs. Surprisingly, the breadcrumbs actually cool down quite quickly. If you need help with this, so you can see I've got my little bowl with all my spices in it. And pepper up my nose. Then I'm going to very carefully, again, if you need help, ask somebody to help you. I'm very carefully picking it up and putting my breadcrumbs on top of my spices. I've got a bit of a collection, so and then just mix the spices through your beautiful breadcrumbs. So I'm literally using a pair of dry tongs because I'm about to use them. So take a full minute to mix your spices through, because you don't want to get patches of spice and not patches of spice. You don't want to pick up one nugget and it doesn't have any spice on it. So we'll just take a good minute. Now, if we were doing schnitzels, we would use flour as well, but this recipe doesn't call for that. Usually you would do egg or flour, egg, and breadcrumbs, but on this recipe it's a little bit different because we're baking our nuggets. All right, fantastic. So we're keeping our oven on because the oven is going to still cook our beautiful nuggets. And our nuggets aren't, they're not big, so that they will cook quite quickly. All right. Emily, smells good. Fantastic. Now I've got my baking tray that I use for my breadcrumbs, and I've got the baking paper underneath that we had, so I didn't throw that away. And then I'm putting a tray, it can be a biscuit tray, cake tray, whatever, on top. And this is going to make sure that we keep our nuggets nice and crispy rather than we're not frying them. And we've already done our beautiful breadcrumb, golden breadcrumb making. Excellent. So the next step is Operation Breadcrumbing. So I've got a piece of chicken and I'm dipping it into my egg wash. It's called an egg wash. And I'm just holding it up and letting as much of the egg wash run off so that it's just like tiny little bits. And then literally we're going to dip that straight into the chicken nuggets, into the breadcrumb mixture. And you can do a couple at a time if you want to. And then what happens is if there's any extras, like any extra egg was to run off, it would run off straight into the pan, into the baking tray underneath. I'm doing about 5 at a time. Just allowing it to run off, popping it straight into my breadcrumbs. Now don't race, take your time. For those that have finished and that you do have spray, you can just give the top of your nuggets another spray with oil. If you don't have it, don't worry about it because you've already got lots of oil in the breadcrumbs already. So you've probably got extra because you used the olive oil and we tossed them. So if you've got the spray oil, spray the top of your nuggets. Now, it might be a bit tricky for you to put your tray plus your wire tray in the oven. So if you need help, ask an adult to help you put that into the oven and put the timer on for 15 minutes. 15 minutes because we don't actually put your timer on for 10 minutes just so that we can double check how they're going along. We don't want it to be too hot. 10 minutes. Like anything, we can always, it's better to check beforehand. Underneath. Excellent. All right then, are we ready to start our dipping sauce? Fabulous. All right, so the first thing you'll need is half a cup of just regular mayonnaise, half a cup. Now I'm using just a jar because I'm going to pop it into the fridge once I've used it. And this, oh, so Daisy, my mayonnaise is going cray-cray. All right. This is one of those sauces that you can make and that you can adjust it according to what you like and what you don't like. So it's kind of like, I call it a creative sauce. Excuse my sauce, making a rude noise. That's as far as I'll do. I'm done. And then I'm popping my mayonnaise straight into my jar. So it's half a cup of mayonnaise. And then if you've got some ground mustard, so I've got Keen's mustard. We're going to have 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon. Pop that straight in. Everybody has their favourite sauces when you go to Macca's. Not that anyone wants to admit that they go to Macca's, but fabulous. So once we've done 1 tablespoon of your ground mustard, then it's 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, 1 tablespoon. One tablespoon of your Dijon mustard. Brilliant. So we're at half a cup of mayonnaise, 1 tablespoon of ground mustard, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, and then 2.5 tablespoons of honey. Now, to be honest, I think that we might put 1 tablespoon of honey in and then move on to the next ingredient, and then we're going to test the flavour. So just put 1 tablespoon in for the moment because that seems like a lot of honey.
Beth?
Yes.
Do you put normal mustard in if you don't have any ground mustard?
Okay, so you've already put you put 1, did you have ground mustard? No, you didn't have that. You just had that kind of mustard?
Dijon mustard.
Yep, all right, fantastic. So my suggestion is that you put in another tablespoon of your Dijon or whatever kind you've got. So we're doing 1 tablespoon of the honey for this moment. And barbecue sauce has got quite a lot of sweetness in it, which is why I'm questioning how much honey is in there. But that could be me because I don't love honey. I don't love it. We'll say 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce. All right, once you're done, if you're using a jar like me, you can just shake. If you're using a little fork in a bowl, give it a nice little whisker. I'm going to whisk and then I'm going to. Right. And then you need to taste it. Whoa. Like super, super sweet to me. Like even that, I would do half of that, I think. You see, everybody's got different flavors, like different sense of taste. And so for me, I might even make a little bit of cayenne pepper in there just to give it a little bit of warmth. But remember that we're not eating it like the spoonful. We're dipping our chicken nuggets in there. So that's why we're creating a sauce that's got full of flavour and that you can dip it or you can drizzle it as a balance to the, you've got crispiness in your chicken nuggets, and then you'll have well, to me it's too sweet, but sweet and that mustardy sort of flavour as well. So there's lots of flavour in the sauce, but you want it to be lots of flavour. You don't want it to be too bland. Sophie, what's your favourite sauce when, not now, but what did your favourite sauce when you go somewhere and have schnitzel or nuggets or something like that? Great. So if you want to hang around till you get your nuggets out of the oven, you can do that. Otherwise, you're free to leave whenever you want to, and you can check your nuggets with someone. Just check your nuggets before you pull them out. Get a grown-up to check your nuggets just to make sure that they're done properly. Fantastic. All right. See you next time, guys.